So today I would love to discuss this apparent horror phenomenon known as Oddity. Just a background on me, I'm a horror connoisseur. I love horror, anything horror, horror shows, horror movies. I've been watching horror since I was like 9 years old. Like, I've always had a fascination with horror movies. Even when I would, be forced to look away because I'm too scared to look at the screen, I would still be very intrigued in knowing where this story is going to go and knowing if this is going to be some sort of good or bad ending. So when it comes to a movie like Oddity, and I see a lot of articles and a lot of people talking about how this is the scariest movie of the year, and there's even an article talking about how scientifically this is the scariest movie of the year, and that's a weird one. But apparently they surveyed a bunch of people that went to the movie and they did some sort of scientific scanning for heart rates and stuff like that. It was a very weird one. Maybe the Irish just have a different level of horror. Maybe it was only scientifically studied in an Irish theater. This is not the scariest movie of the year. I don't even think this is the scariest movie of the last 3 years. I don't even think it's in the top 5 conversation of the scariest movie of the last 3 years. And I'll be the first to tell you, it is not scarier than Long Legs. Long Legs is both a scarier movie and it's a better movie. I mean, just the trailer for Long Legs alone, that trailer with the photo of the family, it's the husband, the wife, and the little girl, just that photo of them, and it's just zooming in on the little girl's face slowly, and then the father's talking, he's like,
Sir, stay on the line with me.
That's not my daughter.
that trailer alone leaves enough mystery and enough room to be scarier than the whole entire movie of Oddity. Pretty soon I'm gonna start spoiling it, so I'll leave a spoiler warning somewhere, because I mean, for me to really tell you where this movie falls short, I'm unfortunately gonna have to spoil it. And I don't want you guys to think that I'm saying that Oddity is a terrible movie or a bad movie. It's not. It's a very flawed movie, and it's too flawed for me to count it anywhere near the top horror movie of the year. It's just not. In fact, I'd put Oddity on the same level as I would Immaculate, because they're not bad, but they're mid. Like, they're very mid movies. Immaculate wasn't scary, it wasn't bad, it wasn't great. It's a very forgettable movie if I don't think, oh, I saw Immaculate. If I don't think that, it's a very forgettable movie. I don't even remember the plot of the movie. They're like the same movie in terms of like how I feel about them. But moving on, so spoiler warning, we are now about to spoil what is Oddity. So right out the gate, Oddity is strange. Everyone in Oddity acts strange. They don't really seem much like people. They're like this one characteristic amplified. The husband whose wife gets murdered, and come to find out, he's the sole cause of it. His character trait is being essentially a sociopath. He's a sociopathic person. You never agree with the husband. You never think the husband is innocent in anything. There is never any indication that he didn't have any hand to play in it. You always know that the husband probably did something. The wife, you can't even really like the wife because, I mean, she was only there for a few minutes. She didn't have much screen time. And then throughout the movie, you will see the girlfriend, which I'll get to in a second. The girlfriend has the wife's old camera, and I'm assuming we're supposed to know more or care more about the wife through their videos. That doesn't really land if that was the point of what they were trying to make here. The camera serves no purpose in the movie. It doesn't let us grow more attached to the wife or really mourn the wife through seeing her recorded videos. The camera is really just there to set up a jump scare, and not even 2 jump scares. It sets up 1 jump scare, and then later on in the movie, you think it's going to set up a 2nd jump scare. It's not. Other than that, the camera serves no purpose. And that's why I wish we could at least find out more about the wife using the camera. I felt nothing through this movie. I really hate early character deaths because there's no attachment to the character that just died. It falls short in both the scary aspect and the story building aspect. The new girlfriend is just an asshole the whole entire movie. She's just so insufferable. And what makes it even worse is that she doesn't die. She gets out. The wife's ghost appears and then tells her to run. This movie is so unsatisfying in every aspect. The man who murdered the wife, I don't think the husband employed him, but he began working alongside the husband. He probably did employ him. This guy is, of course, the guy that killed the wife. His death wasn't even satisfying. He kills the wife, sure. But as soon as he's back inside of the hospital because he got caught in the house and the doctor had to make it untraceable back to him, the guy was repenting. He was feeling so much remorse for what he did. He was literally like wanting to go into a confessional with a priest and everything. And then the doctor lets in this other mentally insane guy, and that guy kills him. So his death wasn't even satisfying because we see that he's actually feeling remorseful. Then we get to the sister of the dead wife. I wish she came off as normal. I wish she wasn't this typical horror movie trope of just a weird person who's in tune with all the horror movie shit happening, because I've seen enough of that trope, and it's not a character trait to me anymore. Like, if there was actual mystery to her as a person and this wooden doll man thing, that would have been much better. This movie leaves no mystery, is my point. This movie leaves absolutely no room for us to think about anything. An element of horror is mystery, and this had none of that. So this doll had me. This was the only, I can't even call it a character, but this was the only thing in the movie that I liked, was the wooden, life-size wooden man witch doll. Throughout the movie, you see this doll is creepy already. It moves on its own. You don't see it move. It sort of kind of teleports. It's changing positions. There's this one scene where the girlfriend looks over the balcony. As soon as she looks over, the doll's looking up at her. That was a beautiful, beautiful jump scare. That one was a really good one. I like that one a lot. Other than that, the other jump scares very much so fall flat. What made me dislike this doll, about the 2/3 point of the movie, I believe, was the fact that for whatever reason, it was their idea to show the doll moving. That took away every creep factor that this doll had. The way this doll walks is just so goofy. They made the biggest mistake ever for this movie, showing this doll moving. Because then your imagination just doesn't work anymore. You can't use your imagination to think about, oh shit, how's this doll getting around? It's gotta be teleporting. This doll's teleporting. It's not. It's walking. It's walking around. And that is so not scary, dude. There's no room for imagination, for mystery. This movie is very straightforward. I don't know how you can watch this movie and think that it has any place in horror at all. In the same genre that includes Hereditary, The Dark and the Wicked, Event Horizon, that includes Longlegs, that includes any horror movie that captures horror as a genre. This movie felt like a Netflix horror movie. I don't know how anybody liked this for anything more than what it actually is. And it's not comparable at all to Longlegs. The scariest part to a monster in a movie or a doll or whatever is not knowing. Longlegs had that. The doll that you see in Longlegs does not move. It sits there and it stares at you. Its eyes may glow. I can use my imagination. Seeing this thing walk around made it so fucking goofy that it lost me. That was the point. This movie just lost me. I didn't care anymore. The sister, I didn't even talk about her death much. She fell through a hole in the floor that the husband put there because she's blind, she couldn't see, and then he set a trap for her essentially by calling a phone that was on the other side of this hole in the floor for her to pick up. She walks to it and falls through the hole. In the context of this movie, she's the only quote-unquote good character, so her death didn't feel good. And then we get to the very end of the movie where the doctor is supposed to be meeting his demise. We're all waiting for it. It's a perfect setup to a really good jump scare. Sister mails him a silver bell that's supposed to be haunted. The sister of the dead wife collected haunted or cursed items, of course. This death bell is supposed to be haunted. It's supposed to be this bellhop sort of guy who died. And what pisses me off about this one is that earlier in the movie, when we hear about the boy that's haunting this bell, she talks about when someone rings the bell that he runs at them, right? Of course, the doctor doesn't believe it when she's telling him about it. So we get to the end of the movie, he gets the bell, is sitting on the table, and he's just sitting in the house alone. He rings it, he taps the bell. So then it sets up this whole jump scare for like maybe a minute or two. and we're waiting for the greatest jump scare of the whole entire movie. We're just waiting. He's waiting. He's looking around, dude. He's just waiting. What I'm waiting for is a running bellhop. I'm waiting to see this apparition run at him full speed, because that would have been the best jump scare in the whole movie. But no, you want to know what we got? At the end of the movie, there is one more camera pan, and it pans over to a full view of him sitting at the table, and the boy is standing somewhat behind him. That is the jump scare we got. He's supposed to run at the person, which would have been incredible to see. At the end, he's just standing there. And on top of that, we don't even see the doctor die. And then the movie ends. And one more thing that I would like to add as an extra on top of things that I don't like. The house that they're in is huge, right? It's this huge house. It's gigantic. But in the movie, we only see about 2 rooms. We only see the main living room that they're in. We see the bathroom, which is a part of the living room. And then we see just a little bit of the bedroom. Then we see just the walkway to the bedroom, like once or twice. Please tell me, why even have a setup of a gigantic house like this? Especially if there's no sound in the whole house. They didn't have TV, they didn't have anything. It was a silent house. The fact that they didn't utilize this whole entire house is like a slap in the face, dude. There are so many horror elements that fall so short because they don't actually utilize them. They didn't utilize the camera. They didn't utilize the doll properly. They didn't utilize the house. Everything falls so flat that makes this movie not even hold a candle to Longlegs. I mean, seriously, like I said, just the trailer for Longlegs is scarier than Oddity as a whole, because Longlegs is like a masterclass in horror, and Oddity is the equivalent of a Netflix horror movie. Oddity is like the fast fashion of horror. It's quick horror. It's literally Netflix horror. Longlegs was a true passion project in horror. It's not bottom of the barrel. It's not imaginary, but it's definitely immaculate. You know, it's mid horror. It's very mid. Like, I'd put Late Night with the Devil above this movie as well. Like, there's no way this is the best horror movie of the year or the scariest horror movie of the year. Every single element that could have been an incredible horror element is incredibly flawed and falls flat in every sort of way. It's a very unsatisfying movie to watch. The reason that people like this movie better is because this movie attracts the jump scare crowd. It attracts the haunted house attraction crowd. That is 100%. If you look at the reviews for this movie and people that are praising this movie are people that want good jump scares. This movie had a lot of jump scares. Longlegs didn't have many jump scares, but you know what Longlegs had that this movie didn't? It had story and it had atmosphere. So yeah, that's it for today.